Hey guys, this is Cyberspace VR. Today we're going to be talking about Beat Saber. It is my personal favorite VR game ever. Put more hours into Beat Saber than I have any other VR game combined, and I have come to you with 10 awesome tips on how you can become a pro in Beat Saber. And so I want to just jump right into it with my number one biggest tip, and this changed the way I play Beat Saber. A little bit of background. I started Beat Saber on the HTC Vive, so I was using the bigger, clunkier controllers. So I was used to kind of having that. If you switch to the Oculus Rift S, however, the Sabers hold a little bit different. So when you hold these controllers, they're kind of up and down. When you hold the Vive controllers, they're a little bit more straight like this. So what ends up happening is it's like holding two sticks. You have to tilt your wrists like this. So tip number one is to hold your controllers in the best way possible. And so if you have a Rift S or something similar and they're not quite where you want them to be, the lightsabers anyway, what I do is I actually put my four fingers through the controllers like this and I grab them this way. And the reason why I do that is so that they're more straight with my arms, so I don't have to bend my wrists as much to go down, but also I never lose my controllers. Something especially with the HTC Vive is I would constantly, the controllers would get sweaty or whatever it may be, and they'd slide out of my hands, and that is not what you want, especially when you're trying to get good, because if you lose track of your controllers, then you're going to get frustrated, and frustration's never good when you're especially trying to beat your buddies at Beat Saber. So that's my number one tip, is to hold your controllers like this, and there's a lot of good reasons, and if you don't like it, then you don't have to, but this really helped me take my Beat Saber game to the next level, if you know what I mean. The next tip that's really important for your Beat Saber game is bend your knees. If you took gym class in high school, your teacher probably always talked about the athletic position, and that's no different with VR gaming, especially Beat Saber. You need to be able to move quickly, and if you're standing straight up, you have to add an action to move. Okay, so if you notice when I play, I'm constantly leaning on one leg or the other so that I don't necessarily have to take a step over into whatever direction the notes are coming at me. That's really important. And that brings us to tip number 3, which is actually get into the music. This is kind of funny, and it's kind of like rule number 3 is fun, but really it's all about the beat, right? It's Beat Saber, it's not Saber. Like you're not fighting people, you're playing an instrument of sorts. So you really need to get into the beat and time it right, because that's what the songs are designed to do, is to send you notes specifically with the beats. So if you get into the music and get your rhythm a little bit better, then you'll be able to hit those timings and get better points on every swing. Okay, so I'm on no fail mode just real quick because I wanted to show you something. So this is Expert Plus. So if I'm standing straight up, then I have to really tilt my body and it feels awkward. But if I'm bending my knees, I can go back and forth very quickly and hit all the notes I need to. And then, so if you see, I'm moving up and down with the music, and that helps you know when the notes are coming without even having to time it right. So that way, you can really get your body in the right positions and swing back and forth with the music. Tip number 4 is a little bit more about practice. So obviously practice makes perfect, but let's say you're playing a song and you've been trying and hacking at it for a long time, and you just can't beat it. Especially with those custom songs, sometimes they're really hard and there's very specific movements that you have to do, and you've just been cranking at it for maybe a few hours and you're getting really frustrated. Tip number 4 is all about playing different music. If you get better at another song, it's going to help you with that first song that you're really struggling with. So branch out, go download some more custom music if you have it. If you don't, if you're on PlayStation VR or whatever, then just keep practicing on all the other stock music. And that way you can just be a better Beat Saber player and then eventually come back and beat that song on Expert Plus or what have you. Tip number 5 is pretty similar. When you're practicing, so let's say you're working on that really hard song. For me, when I first started, there was only a couple songs out. I was practicing Angel Voices, and it was really hard for me. And so what you can do is you can actually turn down the speed in the Oculus menu, or in the Beat Saber menus, to slow down the song so that you can understand how the notes flow. And when those notes are, when you can recognize how they flow and which direction they are, you have a little bit more time, then you can start to speed up. This is how musicians do it all the time, right? They play their songs slowly so that they can get the movements down and get, especially with this, you can get your body placement down, right? Let's say there's notes over here, but you've played it on slow before, so you know you're gonna eventually have to get to the other side of your play space. You can have that in your mind so you can start the transition. You'll be hitting notes over here. You can start the transition with your legs over to the other side. So when there's slow notes, it helps you to process and be prepared for what's gonna come next. So this is it slowed down, so I can get my movements down. Because when you're in Expert Plus, there's a lot more notes and they move faster. The difference between Expert Plus and Expert isn't just about speed. There's more notes. So you need to remember that even though you want to practice and get to the Expert Plus point, you have to be able to understand those notes. So if you slow it down, you know where all the Expert Plus notes are going to be, as opposed to if you practice just on Expert, there's going to be notes that are there now when you play on Expert Plus that weren't there before, and it'll throw you off, and you won't be able to complete the song. That's just how it is. Tip number 6 is all about play style. There's 2 different ways that you can play Beat Saber, in my opinion. You can do it kind of the lame way, where you're just using your wrists to hit all the notes, or you can do it the right way, and the one that's a little bit better for you because you get a little bit more cardio, and that's doing full swing arm movements. And the reason why that's good is because not only are you exercising, which, it's kind of half the point why you should be playing Beat Saber, but also you can really get the swings down, and that actually gives you more points than just the wrist flicks. And so if you really want to get high in the rankings, not just on getting perfect scores as in not missing a note, but you also have to get really good swings in the center of those blocks. So that's why I actually really like this hand setup again, because it helps with the full swings. If you're going wrist this way, then you should be holding your controllers like this because you need the action. So you should hold them kind of dainty and like this. And that's how a lot of people do it. But in my opinion, if you want to do it right, you play with the full arm movements and you do full swings as if you're actually striking something. That's going to give you better scores in the end and be able to push you forward on the leaderboards. So here's the wrist movement. And then here's the full arm movement. Okay, so tip number 7 is playing with disappearing arrows on, because that'll help your movement. Obviously, when you're really trying to get that high score, then you really want to have the arrows, because you might need to do quick flicks or whatever have you. But having those disappearing arrows on will help train your brain to focus on the blocks that are coming at you from far away and focusing on remembering what these are. So you'll plan ahead what your motions are going to be, as opposed to just doing the ones that are right in front of you. Because when you're getting at the high speeds of Expert Plus, you really need that advanced planning, otherwise you're going to fail. So it doesn't even matter if you're playing on no fail mode. Turn on no fail mode. You could even slow it down a little bit. Whenever you're playing, if you're just practicing, turn on the disappearing arrows. It'll help you so that you can develop that habit of looking ahead and remembering what they are. That's just a great way to train your brain on how to be a great Beat Saber player. Okay, so this tip is all about setup. Setting up a proper play space is really important for Beat Saber. And you may not agree. Some people just do the standing room only, where they just do the little circle. And you can get away with that if you don't have the space for it. But that means that you're going to be leaning with your body instead of moving your entire leg and everything span. So in my opinion, if you really want to get serious about getting good at Beat Saber, you need some space to move around and not fear of punching something. I would say that this play space is pretty great. I've got open space. I can come over here. This is all part of my area to play in. One thing that you do need to consider, especially if you're tall, is the roof. Who knows, some custom songs make it so that you actually have to jump, or you need to do some high swinging, and you don't want to damage your controllers. The worst thing that could happen is you could be having the best playthrough of your life. You're like 85% of the way through the song with no failures, and then you go to swing at one, and you hit this, and it ends your whole beautiful run, and it's really upsetting. So just make sure you're setting yourself up for success by having a great play space. Thing is also about preparedness. I hate having low charge indicators when I'm playing a game. Like I said before, you don't want to mess up your beautiful playthrough of that song you've been practicing so hard to get a good score on when your controller says that it's dying. That is so frustrating, and then I'm sure to get tilted, and that whole day is ruined if I ruin one good playthrough. So just make sure you have good, strong batteries in your controllers. Check that they're at least half before you start playing, because you're not going to check while you're playing the game. So just go in there prepared. Tip number 10 is about playing consistently. If you go months without playing Beat Saber, your skills are going to go away. Beat Saber activates the music part of your brain, right? And just like when you were a kid and your mom made you go to piano lessons, it's all about practice. The people that got good put in the practice every day, and they developed those pathways in their brain. If you play Beat Saber every day, you're going to get the results that you want. Especially if you're looking for like weight loss or whatever it may be. Playing Beat Saber every day is something you should do anyway because it's good cardio. It'll get your body ready for those more extreme songs, and you'll be able to play a lot better. I'm going to give you guys one more little bonus tip that I think helps, and it may be a little bit debatable, but I really like helping other people play Beat Saber. So, you're probably the only one around you in your family that has a VR headset, so showing people and teaching them how to play, and then when they get pretty good, you can watch them and see what problems they're having, and maybe you're having those same problems. It's hard to see yourself when you're playing VR. You're wearing a headset, you can't even see the ground around you. If you're watching somebody else play, you might notice, oh man, they're putting a lot of weight on their one foot when they're hitting stuff. Maybe I'm doing the same thing. Maybe I need to be more conscious of my footwork, or whatever it may be. And that way you can learn and improve, just like any sport or skill. Working with other people and giving each other feedback can help a lot with how well you're doing in the game. Well guys, those are my 10 plus a little bonus tip of how to get good at Beat Saber. And I really hope that all of you take these tips to heart and that you can apply them and beat those songs that you've been working on for a while. Let me know if you have any other tips for everybody else. I'd love to see like a little conversation in the comments of everybody saying, oh, well, I tried this, or, I chose to go with this controller and this helped, or whatever it may be, or maybe there's some sticky pads that you put on your controllers to help you grip, or whatever it may be. Let me know in the comments what you do to improve your game or how you practice, anything like that. Give us a like if you thought some of these tips were helpful, and of course, subscribe for some more awesome VR content.